So good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Very, very good. Most of you know me. My name is Jeremy McDonald, and this is our every 2-week Sunday spiritual development meeting that we have. And we have a special guest here today, who is my teacher and friend, Virginia Drake, standing back here in the back. And I'll give you more of an introduction of her here in a minute. And Karen Lohman's going to be speaking today as well. And we're very excited about that. And Karen, of course, you all know, is the start of this vision of sacred grounds and a safe place for everybody to be who they are and without judgment and just live in harmony and community. And she's done that for the past 14 years. And she did it on a whim and on faith. And it's really just happened for her, which is kind of what I wanted to be able to talk about in my segment today. Is about having faith and having that sense of security to know that when you go and you do something in your passion, you just know that the universe is going to unfold for you. And what is most profound about that is when you start on that vision or that passion, you don't know how you're going to do it, you don't know how it's going to happen, you don't know how it's going to look, you don't know where money is going to come or the people are going to come or anything like that. And what happens is when you start, the universe just starts moving towards helping you make that vision happen. Or God or goddess or whatever you want to call it starts moving to make that happen for you. And I'm going to share with you a really cool story. And I was talking about with the people that were here earlier. My vision of the Lamplight group was to create a space that people could have to learn to be empowered to do their own passion and have enough strength in themselves to be able to do that and feel safe without judgment to be able to do that. And so when I first met Virginia 4 years ago, this has been 3 years ago?
What they're saying down here.
Okay.
I'm going about them.
Okay, well, I've known you I think about 3 years. She looked at me, she says, well, first of all, if you want to give a safe place for people to feel empowered to do their passion, you have to feel empowered first. Because how are you going to inspire people to be empowered if you're not empowered yourself? And of course, you know, I'd been a public speaker at that time since 1996, and when I first met her, I walked in, she was sitting in my living room, and I sat down and with an attitude that I'm this great and powerful psychic, and I'm this great and powerful speaker, and I've been doing it for so long, and my ego was about as big as it could be. And I tell people that my ego is the size of the state of Texas, or the size of the state of Florida. But I had to let the other side catch up so it could be in balance or in oneness. And so what ended up happening is I started working on myself. I took a break from counseling people, coaching people, even from doing a lot of speaking. And I spent time in meditation. As a matter of fact, the universe gave me time because I lost my job, didn't have any money coming in, so the only thing I could either do is watch TV or sit and meditate. And what I chose to do, because the cable got cut off, is I chose to meditate because it's the only thing I had to do. So I didn't have much of a choice. And so what I did is I sat there and I worked on every one of my self-esteem issues, and she taught me a process to be able to do that. And so every opportunity that made me feel small or made me feel insignificant in myself, I had to look at it. Instead of me looking at the other person and saying, you're doing this to me, I had to look and say, well, why is it I feel small inside of myself? Why is it I'm reacting and giving them that much power over myself? And so I had to sit there, and I remember calling her up and saying, well, they're doing this to me, and this. And she said, hold on a second now. You have to go within yourself and figure that out. And she reminded me as my friend every step of the way. And I remember when I first met her, I would just email her. And with very much love, she would help me understand myself. So what ended up happening is that this vision is happening. This film that's happening today, these guys over here are they have produced commercials and many other things, and we have film producers. We have two others sitting over here. We have musicians sitting in here. We have ministers of churches and spiritual centers sitting in this audience. We have computer programmers sitting in here. We have business owners. We have people that are artists, and we have the community that I was looking for. I was looking for my family. And all I had to do was believe. But at the time, I came from being a vice president of a company. I had all the money in the world. I could make a decision and I could throw $10,000 at it. And so here I was with zero money. But I had a false sense of empowerment before. Because you can feel really empowered when you have $1 trillion company standing behind of you. But when you have zero money, all you have is faith. And so people really get torn up with that. But it says in every major spiritual text that if you find and follow the Spirit within you, that it will take you down and find the path of light for you. And people say, the path of light, that really feels uncomfortable. Well, yes, because if you're sitting in doubt, it's going to feel really uncomfortable to look at something that feels so good. And so you're looking at it, and you're feeling really good about it, and you look at it and you say, well, that's just all those crazy spiritual mumbo-jumbo things. And I had people tell me that. And recently I had a friend of mine say all that spiritual stuff is for the people that are weak and angry, and that they don't feel very confident about themselves. So I said, well, maybe. But I feel pretty good about myself. And they were like, well, I wasn't talking about you. I was like, no, you were talking about yourself. And they got mad at me, but then they called me back up and you say, you're right, I'm really not feeling so good about myself. And they broke down and started crying. And what they were really doing is projecting their own insecurity onto me because I was standing so strong in myself. So spirituality is not about religion. It's not about having hoity-toity, hocus-pocus, mumbo-jumbo stuff. It's just about looking at yourself and becoming whole. That's it. That's what Buddha was teaching us. That's what Jesus was teaching us. That's what many other masters, there's so many of them you can't even keep up with them. And why? What they were teaching us is to just be strong in yourself. That's it. And so if you have a vision, keep pushing forward. If something doesn't happen exactly the way that you want it to, you keep pushing forward. And you understand who you are because you understand what your vision is. But you're not so inflexible that you won't let things flow the way they're supposed to. Does that make sense? Because what happens is we get this idea of expectation in our head the way it's supposed to happen, and that's the way it's got to be. And so then we miss all the other opportunities. And we don't look at them as a way of growth, because this experience going on here, all it is a playground to experience. That's it. So what we're doing here is we're just enjoying ourselves in the experience. We're just playing. And I call life a Disney World, because I love Disney World. Everybody like Pirates of the Caribbean? I am down with some Pirates of the Caribbean. And so what's really amazing about this is that I had a friend of mine the other day say, I hate life, I can't wait to get off this rock. I'm like, well, then if you hate it, that's always what you're going to experience, is being in anguish of it. Stop with all that stuff. I'm like, well, wait a second, you're a spiritual teacher. And then they got very angry with me. I said, but I love you enough to tell you this. And I'm not going to hold back my truth. And it's because if I look at you, what I'm doing is I'm seeing myself just a few years ago. Somebody that said, I hate my life. As I was teaching all this stuff, I was thinking, I remember looking in the mirror, getting home from my job, and I looked at my mirror and says, I'm not really happy with where I'm at. I hate my life. And all I needed to do was say, I love myself. That was it. And what happened is that I started getting that security I was looking for. And I follow that wherever I go. And as a result, I don't limit myself. I speak at the Florida Pagan Gathering. I go to see Joyce Myers, who is a Christian minister. I go to see Buddhist lamas. I experience it all. Because if my spirit within me says to go do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to question it. Because that's the confidence in where I'm at now. And so what happens is that we judge every little thing that we're doing. I was just coaching somebody the other day, and they said, well, how do you know when that spirit within you says to go forward? I said, because it's easy. Well, what do you mean it's easy? I said, if there's opposition in you, then you have to look at it. And you have to, so that you can get a clear idea of where you're going to go. So what I want to do really quick is I want to do an exercise, and you can sit right in your seats. And what I want you to do is I want you to experience this energy. So I want you to just think about something really big that you want to do. It could be just, you might want a business to start. You might want to have start a magazine. You might want to start a film production company. You might want to be a public speaker. You might want to do a haunt. You might want to be a professional musician. Whatever it is you want to do, I want you to feel that. I want you to just close your eyes and breathe in this energy. Breathe it in. And as you look at that big, massive vision in your head, I want you to pay attention to what's going on in your body. Does it feel good, or is there something that says, yeah, that's a great vision, but it's it's going to take a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of work? Or is there a flow to it, and you feel really exceptionally good about it, like it's going to happen no matter what? And I'm just going to love this when it starts. It's already here. I experience it. Breathe it in. And you should feel tension on your body, or you're going to feel a flow in your body. Take a second. Real quick, let's get some feedback. Matt, how did you feel?
Just a little above.
A little above.
Yeah.
So you had some good, and you had some feeling of tension, right?
Yeah.
So you had a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the idea is to take that struggle, learn from it, and the stuff you would consider to be positive, and you want to bring that back here. So let's take what you do. Take a second to just breathe in. Look at both of them. Why is there a struggle? What's the other side?
Because it's hard.
Oh, nothing's hard unless you make it hard.
Well, yeah.
Okay, because I don't have to do anything. These two guys just come and set up cameras and lights. But it took me 2 years of processing myself and telling anybody about my dream. And what ended up happening is that, they're here. We're working together.
Right.
And so, you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I looked at before, I had to have the money to be able to do this. I had to be able to do this. I had to find the right guys. You and I have had conversations about it. So if I'm constantly looking at what I don't have, I'll never open myself up to the opportunities of what I can have. Right in this moment. And right in this moment, I have everything that I need for this moment. So in the now, there is no struggle. Because if I'm so busy looking at the future and also being held back by the past, I'm still never living in the now. One of my favorite sayings that a friend said to me is, if you got 1 foot sitting in tomorrow and you got 1 foot sitting in yesterday, you're pissing on today.
That's great.
Especially if you're a woman.
Especially if you're a woman. And so, but these analogies make us laugh, but they're very, very true. And why? Because the logical mind, the ego, or the left hemisphere, it only thinks forward, future, and it only thinks past. But is incapable of seeing the now. What can see the now? Your faith, your right hemisphere. And there's a lot more about the brain that we totally don't even understand, but we do know that. And so that the logical mind can only process what it can see, feel with the 5 senses. And so what happens is, because it can only see that, with its own fear, it's saying, well, I can't do that. I can't do this. It's going to be hard. I don't have this. I don't have that. Martin Luther King said it great. You don't need to know the first step in faith. You just have to step on it. And then it gets revealed over and over and over again. As you take steps up those steps, it just starts to become magical. And that's why we look at things and we're like, wow, this is incredible. And when you start having faith, you'll start seeing things in a different light.